It's and used in the third part of the movie trilogy of The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. And it's called May It Be. And I always enjoyed Enya's music, kind of using them for meditation, and then to have it hooked with a movie that was quite inspiring to me to see this Fellowship of the Rings, to complete the mission of conquering evil by good, etc. So, but I would never have been able to play this or been able to know the notes of this if it hadn't been for the subject of our next essay, our series on how the church has changed the world. This essay is called Melodies Everlasting. And this man's name was Brother Guido of Arezzo. He lived in Italy in the 10th century. And it's really amazing. He's the one who we are now indebted for the music and the notation and method for doing, keeping track of notes, the alphabet, so to speak, of music that we know to this day. And I have to say, I never really thought about or knew how that was created or when it came about. And it's really similar to the ways that with language, with speaking, the evangelists had to figure out ways to speak and tell the gospel in the words of the natives. And so even to the point where, remember St. Cyril and Methodius created their own language back in the 700-800s to a Slavic alphabet. They started a new alphabet in order to be able to communicate to the Slavs and tell them about Jesus Christ. So not only has there been a need, and we've had obviously the alphabets of our languages to express things, but the same in music. And amazingly, for the first millennium of the church, there really was no recorded way to pass on music. It was all by hearing and just repeatedly hearing music and imitating it, that they would pass on music. And when you were dealing with the liturgy of the church and the fact of the monasteries and the ways they had songs for all the psalms and morning and evening prayer and then the mass, they say that it could take 2 to 3 years to train somebody, a cantor, to lead liturgical music in a monastery or in a parish, in a church. And how difficult it was and tedious to learn. And then you were at you were at the mercy of people forgetting or misplacing notes and changing the music, and then that's the way it would be in that area forever. So the church wanted to have, and you could say, well, why didn't they just figure out a way to express it wherever they were? Well, we know that concept of Catholic universality, that the church wanted to be in unison, no matter where you were praying throughout the known world. So there was a desire to have a common way. The other option for passing on music was, just to start something new and never have the same songs repeated. So neither of those were ideal. So finally, this brother Guido of Arezzo, he comes up with the system that we know now. I love, they tell the story about Pope John the 19th, like for the first time reading this, and he would exclaim, I can read this, I can follow this. And they said it was a moment of enlightenment, almost like Helen Keller, remember when she figured out the water with the water pump and how excited she was. These moments of kind of taking us to a new place of understanding. And so now the church would have a way of being unified. They could take much less time to hand on music and have everybody, be playing and hearing the same music. This was a huge way that the church helped change the world, and not only for obviously sacred music, but for the secular music we hear to this day. We might not, be able to pass on that music and play it if we didn't have Brother Guido and his contribution to history. So we thank God for that, and we pray that we will continue to allow ourselves to use music to glorify God. And as I always have to do, I encourage you to check out there's some great Christian music, all different types, not just for liturgy, but for listening, for praise and worship, for just inspirational song and words and messages. So make sure you get into Christian music if you haven't already. Explore it and We thank again God for Brother Guido of Arezzo, because we can now understand that music better. So thanks for joining me today. Have a great day, and God bless.